Okay, everyone. Good morning to everyone from Colombia. We are now 2 a.m. at the morning, really morning. So thanks for everyone to invite us to share what we have been doing along this research from geoconservation to the peace building, using landscape as a tool for social and cultural mediation. I am Isabel Marin, and my partner is Catalina González Tejada. Next one, please.
Sorry. I don't know why it's not working. Sorry for that.
Don't worry, it used to happen. Okay, we are inside of the research group of environmental geology and tectonics in the Northern Andes. And what we have been doing is also to try to contribute to the knowledge of the Northern Andes and try to understand the origin and evolution, to let the decision-making people to manage the territory. So we are in the strategic research line from 2020, 2030, in environment, biodiversity, and natural systems. Next, please. We have education programs from undergraduate as geology as a bachelor program, master in earth science, and doctor course in earth science. And also we have several complementary educations programs that include short seminars, diplomate seminars, and we have a very nice program that includes the children education in our campus, and also the knowledge of life program that is adult people comes to our campus, university campus, to learn more about science. So what we have been looking now, it's try to build an UNESCO shared program or shared project called the from geoconservation to peace, construction, and territorial development. Next, please. Okay, if you can imagine how is Colombia or the Northern Andes is very complicated, has very complicated geological setting. We have an active plate subducting beneath the Andes, the Northern Andean block. We have it's a highly seismicity region, but it's also giving us a very mega geodiversity territory. So if you see here, we have two oceans. We have the Atlantic and Pacific. We have, of course, the littoral region and three different Andean cordilleras, the Western, Central, and Eastern cordilleras, separated by two really long rivers along the territory called the Cauca River and Magdalena River, and we have the Caribbean region, the Guajira region that is also in the Caribbean place, very similar to Venezuelan lands. We have the Craton, the Amazon Craton in the Orinoquia and Amazonia region. And we have the highest peak along the littoral area called Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. So we also in Colombia, we are pioneers in all of these studies of geoheritage, geoconservation, geodiversity, and it's mainly because the main researcher in our group was Dr. Michel Hermelin, and he did this very beautiful book in the Spriggan editorial, Landscapes and Landform of Colombia. And this book was very interesting because it highlighted the most important places in Colombia for, digamos, very important places and beautiful places in Colombia. So what's have been since that we have been working in all of this research line in environmental geology and sustainability research line. Next one. Here is just to tell you how is the tectonic domains in Colombia. We have several fault systems that cross the country from south to north, and it giving us a very fantastic landforms and landscapes related to this morphotectonical evolution. If you can see the right figure, we can have a look of the morphostructural domains and related basins. All of these basins are Cenozoic basins that they are bearing hydrocarbons and coal and gas and etc. So we have a very complicated geology related to the accretionary oceanic blocks that are coming from the western side related to these subduction processes. Next one. So I just selected a geological sketch along the Andean Cordillera. So if you can see in the left side, this we have the Nazca Plate subduction and the Western Cordillera, Central Cordillera, and Eastern Cordillera, and Guyana Shield that is part of the Amazon Craton, and in the orange square is the place that mainly I'm going to focus on is the Central Cordillera, where there is a metamorphic basement intruded by several different batholiths from Jurassic to the Cretaceous time. And the right figure is showing as the chronological sketch of granitic landscape evolution. So we have a story from Rodinia rifting and then sedimentation, followed by the Pangea formation that is giving us all of these metamorphic rocks, and from Permi-Triassic rifting after Pangea formation. And then during Jurassic and Cretaceous time, we have several intrusions of several batholiths. The most important one is the Cretaceous Antiochian batholith that is in the violet square. And from Miocene to the present, we have an evolution of this landscape, giving us the all of the cordilleras, the Andean cordilleras that we can see here. So you can have a look. Here is the Western Cordillera, Central Cordillera, and Eastern Cordillera, dissected by two main rivers. And in the upper part of this figure, we can see the selected places where the granitic rocks are showing very beautiful landscapes, very similar to some places along the world, like in Rio de Janeiro. It's all of this kind of inselberg that we can see along the Central Cordillera. Next one, please. Okay, Catalina, it's your time.
Hello, everyone. So continuing with the context, it seems important to talk about a little bit of the conflict in Colombia, not to extend, because it is a very complex topic with different actors, problematics, and transformations. But just to give some data, so more than 60 years of conflict that has impacted almost all of the country. Especially as you can see, comparing with the map Maria showed you, where we, in our group, we are working on, or the projects, you see that that part of the North Andes had been very impacted. This is what they call target killing, so the number of people that has been targeted to be killed. So the yellow ones are the ones that had been more impacted about that. The project that we have been working, Maria will show them after. So the November 24th of 2016, it's a day that marks the beginning of a new challenge, that is the post-agreement processes, where actually the peace construction, sustained peace will be held, but it's a long-term processes, and need the involvement and active active participation of different actors, such as universities. But then we think about what do the geoscience have to do there. So if we check at the main factors that have been shown as at the origin and all the transformation of the conflict in Colombia, we have the problems related to land, but not only to land, because in Spanish we have only one word, that is tierra, that means land, that means also earth. So it is difficult, the translation, but the problems related to the land possession, illegal land uses, but also, as I will show you after, the representations and the perceptions with the earth. So it's a bigger, when we call tierra in Colombia, it has in Spanish, it has a larger definition. And the other one is democracy, weakness or lack of democracy. The war has been mainly in rural areas, so that's why university has a role on all of that. So sorry, I will continue with the next, and you will see. So one of the most strategy of violence that being used is tierra arrasada. As I told you, it's difficult to translate sometimes the words. What means tierra arrasada is that the strategy is not only to kill the people, but also to exterminate all the material and symbolic environment of the victims. So it becomes uninhabitable, because of all the marks of footprints of the terror, and they are forced to go out of the territory. Next one, please. So this relationship, like this link between tierra, earth, land, and communities, point out that the violence, the establishment of the violence, it's marked also by the different ways of conceiving the earth, of seeing the understanding of the relationship within humans, beings, and nature. So it confronts like interest of as economical resources for development or for other interest, violent or not violent, but also it confronts the point of view of the nature and the earth resources as a mother earth, as a spiritual sustenance, physical, social, and cultural life. In this relationship, so please the next one, the most affected ones had been, Nina, please the next one, had been the indigenous and Afro-descendants communities. Here is some data of the indigenous that have been impacted by the conflict. So mostly because they are the owners of around 32 million hectares of the land of Colombia, that is 111.5 million of hectares. So they are the owners of a big part of the country. And mostly that continues because of the deforestation projects, because of the agriculture or exploitation projects, and many other problematics that become with the illicit crops that are part of this conflict. That's why I told you it's very complex, because it's not only narco traffic, it's not only all the history of the revolutions and all of that. There are many many subjects that come here, and it's risking like the disparition of the indigenous communities. Next one, please. Also, this is it's a very sad image. I don't know, I don't see the source. It's okay. This is a very sad image of a violence act in a territory that mostly affect Afro-descendants, where one of the actors of the violence explode, how we say, oil pipeline, yeah, oil pipeline, and devastated not only all this nature, but also kill more than 84 people. So the question, I was looking through different publications and articles, and everybody's asking why this never answered. 20 years after, more than 20 years after, this was in 1998. No answer of that. So then we ask ourselves, shouldn't we ask if did they know what they were dealing with? Like, what was the components of that geology or the consequences of what they were doing on the river, on the environment of the community that were close by? I don't really sure they know what they were dealing or what they were dealing with, because some of the articles say that like the only thing these actors say that it was a mistake. So I don't know if we have then the possibility to think maybe it's crazy, but as geoscientists, well, I'm not, but as geoscientists, getting also to these actors could be different the situation, like in the education of is the, like you say, geological hazards is not really a geological process, but it could be a danger of what they do with the geological resources. So, all right, so it's a question that start to be on our heads. So that shows that, please next one, that demonstrate the landscapes of Colombia have been modified and impacted by the violence, more than aesthetic scenarios for contemplation. Landscape talk about those relations, those movements, those conflicts. In that way, if we study and understand what the landscape is telling, we can maybe give new ways of seeing it and redefine it. So the National Center of Historical Memory work on a research project and a publication that is called Narrativas de la Guerra a través del paisaje, war narratives through the landscape. And they construct this publication with the question, if trees, river, roads, and ruins could speak, what would they tell about the war? So inspired by that, we redefine it. If the rivers, the mountains, the rock could talk to the conflict-related people, what would they tell us? It means that we don't only focus on understand the conflict, but in understanding the landscape from geoscience, from the memory of there, and then understand the conflict, what they talk about the conflict, and put them on dialogue. Here you see an image of how the river could be at the same time a place of living for the communities, and the other one you have the actors with the army and somebody that was kidnapped. So please, next one. So one of the best examples to talk about this modification in landscape, these ambivalent relationships with the resources are the water, the river, the lakes, the dam, accesses of the landforms in Colombia. You see at the left in the river, the Amazon River, that we know is life for all the world, a mega geodiversity place. And in the other side, you see the Rio Cauca, as Maria told you, is one of the main rivers of Colombia that is showing how it's a scenario of death. So as many rivers in Colombia that have become, as they say, big cemeteries. Please, next one. So after all of that, we have many questions that came out that help us to construct this new approach of research. So can we think about geoscience as career of new meanings, relationship, and perception for the peace building? Is it possible to link the memory of the earth and the historical memory of the territories? How to establish this link from a scientific, social, experimental dialogue? So how the geoconservation strategies could contribute to the peace building and be source of resignification and resilience. Maria will show you now, so the projects we were working on the group that will give you some answers to that. Then I will see you at the end of the presentation again.
Thank you. Next one, please. Okay, we started in 2016 with some interactive e-books that is showing the geo roads along the Medellin city. And it's a kind of application that we can use for navigation along the main places around Medellin city. You can see in the left side, this is the ebook and in the interaction and how to use and to see many gigapan photographies and so on. Next one, please. Okay, this is a very beautiful project where we started with one of the most important hydropower generation company that led us to start a multi-level participatory and multidisciplinary interaction with the people of that is working along this company. So we started a series of workshops with the people, with the local people, trying to build a geo roads along these central hydropower, generation systems, trying to identify which are the main places that we need to start to understand and to give education to the people, because it's a place for future touristic development projects. So as Catalina told you, Colombia, because of the configuration of Colombia, you saw we have two oceans. We have Amazon jungle and we have also the Caribbean area and the Caribbean area. So we have Andean jungle, Amazon jungle. We have many places that led the people related to the conflict to establish in some basic places, for example, very close to the hydropower systems. So this place I'm going to show you was one of the most important places occupied by guerrillas during the conflict time. So it was very important to start to work with the people around this area, because they love the territory. They really like to think about the territory as a resource for touristic projects, but also they have some memories, not that good memories, because of the conflict during the past times. So next one, please. We started with the seminars with the people that is working in this company, and we established a kind of environmental related seminars and social mapping. So we did some workshops that trying to teach them the type of rocks, the cycle of rocks, how is the formation of the different landscapes in Colombia. And it was very nice because more than I don't know, in the different places we visited, we got more than 300 people involved during these workshops. So at the end, we did a social mapping, trying to build with them which places they identify as the most beautiful landscapes around this hydropower system, around these dams. So we did a kind of inventory of geological and geomorphological places, interesting places. And as you see, those points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in red are the places we build together between the geologists and also with the people. So then, next one, please. Can you give us this video? So we were working with a school of children in this rural area, also doing this kind of education with the kids and of course with the community, trying to transfer all their knowledge about geology and landform formation. And we started to let them to understand all these points, how was the evolution of these landscape formation from granitic rocks. Next one, please.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Okay, please come. Okay, this is 6 points we selected with the people, with the local people, and because they already understand that those sceneries are very beautiful and they are very unique, and they have geological process that are giving this place a very special landscape scenery. So we have, for example, El Peñol de Guatapé, that is so you can see there, this is a dam, multi-function dam that is for hydropower generation, but also for touristic issues. And also we can see the Inselberg there, that now we, in our group, we are trying to understand how was the process of formation of this Inselberg. And also we have the spherical meteorite, how those rocks are behaving with water, so giving the formation of these geoforms along the river. And also we have these different places, formations along the granitic landscape. Next one, please. Okay, this is a compilation of how we call it the geo roads along the western Antioquia dam hydropower generation. Next one, please. Okay, since that, give me a second. Since that, we started to work with a very beautiful person that came to my life and also to Catalina's life. He unfortunately he passed away 3 years ago, and he was my undergraduate student and also my master course student. And he started to build a startup called Geografía de la Guerra. His name is Miguel Ángel Tavera. He's with us now, just looking from the sky. And he built this startup, tried to link how is the landscape importance for the memory of the people, because when the people was forced to go out from their territory, they became afraid of the territory. But from this opportunity we have now, that after conflict agreement, we maybe all of these people will get the opportunity to come back of the territory to the territory and to make a peace with the territory. So let's listen this statement. I really think this is a beautiful statement of geography of the war. Can you give us the sound?
I am a social awareness project which creates bridges between the objective reasons that motivated the conflict from the geography of Colombia and the human pressures on nature in our territory. I don't want to be a merely collective memory construction project. I want to tell stories as an act of resistance and as a testimonial education tool. I understand that human conflicts are subjective, but they start from an objective action, which I will call geography. I recognize the war in Colombia as an event that has broken the temporality of a country, a culture, and physical nature. understand that the war in Colombia is not over yet. That is why memory as an educational exercise represents a greater challenge. How life is rebuilt in a territory still in the midst of a conflict. I because we will never fall again into an empty meaning of reality. The reality of the territory in Colombia requires the word not to be accepted as part of our daily lives. I assign to the education of the conflict and the human pressures to nature to commit to stop barbarism, the same barbarism against which any educational reconciliation action must be directed.
Thank you. So what you saw in the video, it was the process that Miguel was doing with the local people, trying to transfer an education about life, about territory, about landscape. And he finally he was choosing places in Colombia to come back with the people related with the conflict, and finally they got a kind of peace inside of their lives because they understood that the territory was really beautiful, and the territory was just kind of forgot. They forgot the territory because of the violence, but they are trying to re-signify this the meaning of the territory. Next one, please. Okay, Kata, it's your turn.
Okay, so after that, imagine then a geologist, Maria, a museologist, me, with a common inspiration, Miguel, thinking about how to take that legacy he left and all the projects or experiences, all the learnings that have been constructed in the group, how to take them to another level and don't leave them there. Like he needs to live in the project he left to us. Like so, we start to think in many. We saw that like the difference between Maria and me as an opportunity for a new research point of view. There was the landscape as a mediation tool. Is something new in Colombia? I don't know in the world. Maybe we'll say it then. But we see landscape, the mediation as in the cultural and social conception. It means that reconciliation, that resignification with the landscape, and at the same time with the landscape, with the territory, and at the same time that link between with their selves, with the others, and with the world. More than like mediation, sometimes, mostly in France and other countries, when they talk about culture mediation, we think about the transfer of information or knowledge. That is part of it, but it's not only that. So that's why we think more in that relationship, in that dialogue. So between the interpretation that is given by the geoscientists about the elements, abiotic element, the context, the processes that tell us about the memory of the earth, and the interpretation of the human social science, the relationships, behaviors, representation, perception of the memory of the territory and the relation with the nature. So combine them they are combining the landscape. So thinking it as a mediation tool between earth, between society, can maybe give us a new dialogue, new meanings of the landscape as it is shown in the geography de la guerra, in geography, I forgot how it was translated, but the project that Miguel had been working on. Please, the next one. So we have a statement that come from the resignification, come from the individuals to the social collectivity, that can lead to processes of landscape heritagization. Dimeo, there is a French author, tells about the patrimonialization as processes of collective social agreement for the reconstruction of meaning. For the construction of meaning, and we put reconstruction before. And at the same time, we think about the geological and geomorphological resources with the double recognition of heritage and resource that they have, and also as an identity, as part of definition of the identity of the people, of the habitants, and an economic resource. That combining of interest, of representation, can make the people start the strategies of the conservation and management strategies. An example of that is El Prodigio, this geoarchaeological route that was constructed by scientists and inhabitants of the territory. This is also a territory in Antioquia, in the region of Antioquia, that was hard impacted by the conflict. And they construct together that geoarchaeological route. They disseminated. The principal objective was to develop the communitarian tourism, and at the same time that gave kind of empowerment on the communities. That today, in 2019, they got the recognition as a national heritage by the Ministry of Culture. So you see how those processes can lead to these geoconservation strategies. And we believe that these geo-community projects, we call them, they need symbiosis of the scientists in the community, inspiring us from the Marin experience, and to articulate the designation as a heritage by scientists or public powers or other actors, and the social appropriation process of that geo-heritage. Sorry, there is a mistake on the the text. So please, the next one. So our expected results is to explore a dialogue of earth science with new files of study. We are now starting with the publication. Sorry, with the publication of a project, editorial project about geoconservation in Colombia that we would like, that will be in August, I guess. We are working on it. We hope that that will continue, that this is the first step and that will continue. To find new strategies and tools for social and cultural mediation between society and landscape. So we want to reactivate the Geografía de la Guerra. There is a transmedia project, so they have the podcast, and there are other projects that could be around it, as art expositions, or maybe just going to also have presence on the communitarian radios, because as we told you, the rural areas are the ones that have been more impacted, and one way to get to them, sometimes they don't have internet, they don't have connection, or even the access there is very difficult. So the communitarian radios could be a very good option to get to most of the people. So there are many ideas about that, to study the impact of each of the intervention, whether at the company, as we already did in the hydroelectrical territory, government, or university level, that help us to readapt all these mediation strategies to be better, more adapted to different publics, and also according to the territories, because the complexity of each of them don't let to put one tool and take it exactly the same to other. Don't establish tools for undertaking of territorial projects that harmonize the value of the society earth dialogue. So we have the ideas. Maybe we can also support all the development of geoparks in Colombia, because we don't have one we don't have in Colombia. Geopark, there are many projects going on, but there is no one at the moment. And as we say at the beginning, to build the UNESCO Chair Geoconservation, Peace Building, and Territorial Development. And why not to think that this relation of geoconservation for peace building could be a world topic, and maybe today we are doing the first step. So thank you very much. I guess it's the end. Yeah, thank you for your attention. We are ready to answer to your questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was really amazing for me. Like I'm sure everyone share my point of view. So do we have some questions, or I need to, because I didn't see on the chat.
I've got the questions.
Okay, if you get the question,
Yeah.
it will be great, Ben.
Yes. We'll not start with me. Naomi, you're first in the line. Are you there? While we link up with people, let's see if Naomi wants to ask her question. She's there. Is she talking to us? We can see you, but we can't hear you yet. While we're waiting for Naomi to connect, Marie-Noël?
Yeah, I think it really links with our projects or our ideas we have, that we need to connect the people with their land, right? And the territory, I think it's a vision of the land through the people, right? But as geologists, we link the land to the interior of the earth or something. So that's really this link that we need to restore. I think it helps for a lot of things, and this issue about war in Colombia is really interesting. I think really it will help. I hope in the future to help. Yeah, as you put, like, peace is very fragile in Colombia, and I think we hear it in the news. So it really needs some long-term projects to secure that, right? That, I think that's really interesting. I don't know, me.
Maybe
Any other?
maybe I can tell you there is a places now in Colombia that the government is trying to build like a new urban area where the ex-guerrilla people will establish there. So, for example, my husband, he is also a geologist. He's professor at the National University of Colombia, and he is doing this research where like choosing the best place that people could stay, trying to understand the geological evolution, the natural hazards, and the risk associated. So in this also in that topic, geologists, we are playing a very important role because we are defining where the ex-guerrilla people will establish and do local projects. So I think if we can let them to establish in a place that also they can develop different kind of projects, they will for sure help us for peace, long time peace process.
I'm wondering if we've got Naomi back, or if not, Shireen. Shireen has just had a hurricane, so she may be not able to talk to us. While
Comment. Morning, everybody. My comment was just that this project more than just connects people to the landscape. It goes to the very core of a person and what it means to exist in a space in conflict, but also for everybody in the conflict to have all of these related, connected aspects. So, to see the beauty in the landscape and how, even though it's being used for conflict, it's being used for ordinary daily lives. And it's sort of, it brings to me that if two people could see that, then, how we both use a space and appreciate the space, we can see the beauty in this space, then maybe we don't need conflict. We can just be here and exist just like the river exists, just like the mountains exist, just like the mountains and the geology evolves over time, so can our relationship. So this project really is very deep for me. I found this presentation extremely enlightening. Thank you very, very much to you both.
Hi. Am I back?
yes.
Okay. I was using the wrong mic. No, I just wanted to add to Shireen because I also do not have a question, but just a comment on how I love the merging of not just geology and the social science, but actually involving the people and having and doing participatory mapping and really getting their view of what is beautiful and what to them is important and having them identify what they value in the landscape around them. And as Shireen said, although the landscape might have been used in conflict, what you're doing is more of now switching and showing the side that the landscape is also a place of healing in a place that's been in conflict for a very long time. And it's really inspiring, especially the video and the message there. I'm going to post that on our Facebook, the project Facebook, because it's very inspiring words, and I'm happy to hear that you are continuing it into, I think, a more modernized way as well. The what do you call that, media? The different media thing is very interesting as well. And I also wanted to add that I love how you are very inclusive, especially to the communities that are not up to date with technology. So the communities with no internet connection. I love how very inclusive this project sounds, and I hope to see how it goes in the next few months.
Naomi, thanks. I'm sorry to interrupt again, but what we did with the kids in the local or in the rural school, it was really beautiful because they were kids from like 8 years to 10 years kids, and when we were showing them, for example, an image of an earthquake. So I was trying to explain the different process in the earth, and I show a picture of the earthquake. So when they saw that, they told us, "Oh, that's not the picture. This picture is it was related to the conflict. It was a bomb." And we say, "No, it was an earthquake." But for them, every kind of destruction or kind of process that is happening, it was related to the conflict. So when they understood that things happen naturally, and not everything is related to the human behavior, to the bad human behavior, for them was really it was a kind of mental process that they tried to understand how was the universe origin, and then the formation of landscape, and then how beautiful is the place around them. So at the end, we did a field work with them. So we went to visiting all the places they choose. Also, they choose places of interest, geological and geomorphological interest, and they were trying to identify minerals and rocks and weathering process. So it was really amazing to see how the kids were also involved in this process. I didn't show pictures about that, but it was also part of the project.
Thank you very much, Maria. Oslem has raised a hand, so can we welcome Oslem from UNESCO Geosciences Program?
Hello, everybody. Hi. Good to see everybody. I'm really happy to be with you, I think, for this last session, and which is impressively totally matching the objectives of our project with IGCP project, which we are talking here, and the concept of UNESCO Global Geopark and the vision of International Geoscience Program. So, and I'm really, really happy to see that actually we are ending with this session, which is taking, all our objectives. So it shows the community involvement, it shows the geoscience is important for peace building, bringing people together, educating our children. And we see two lovely ladies presenting and leading this project. So from my gender equality perspective, as Ben did for last 12 sessions, we had mostly female involvement. So I think Ben is one of our most feminist geoscientists there on. So I am also grateful to him to bringing and introducing all these lovely leaders and females. So this is really impressive. As Catalina said, Colombia doesn't have any geopark yet, but they have several projects. But these projects, like today's project, we see these are the seeds of geoparks. So we always say geoparks are bottom-up approach, and they come from local communities, academies, and this is what we have. We have a social scientist and a geoscientist working together with the communities and bringing the landscape and the geology and importance of geopark. I think that's how we start. And then one day we will hopefully have a geopark, and hopefully they will come in as the global geopark. But this is really inspirational to see that this starts like that way. And Ben and his team and Nina and bringing us this to our world, because this is it for us to connect to what's happening around the world. I think this is not the only one. We have many others all around the world. But this was the opportunity and the spirit of the IGCP program and the project with these webinars. So I would like to thank everybody. So with this really lovely session in the morning and very educational, I learned lots. And what we will do, I think we will work with Ben and Nina how to capture with these webinars, last 12 sessions, and how to share them. And the recording of today's session, we will definitely share with the Colombian delegation and the National Commission. Sometimes even these happen in the local context. High-level managers and leaders there are not aware, and UNESCO also plays a very important role in that point to show scientists' work with their high representatives from community approach. I think this will be a really nice example we will present with the delegation of Colombia and others. So I just want to thank you and for all your efforts, and it is really, really inspirational to see how it comes. And I know, I used to work in oil and gas, so I do remember very well the incident of the pipeline explosion. And all my friends, they passed some time in their life in Colombia and the oil fields. So from this context, seeing Colombia being one of the oil producer country, but here we are coming and seeing how the geoheritage and the landscape of Colombia can be used to teach, educate children and local communities. So I think for me, it's a spectrum from oil point to here in my 20, 25 years of geologist experience. This is experiential. Just thank you. And this is the last session also. I think thank you for all the organizers, and Nina did an excellent job. And thanks to Ben and Naomi and Evelyn. So thank you. And that's all from me with my broken hand. Right.
Thank you very much, Oslem, for your support and all of this.
Yes. And when we will work now how to record and how we keep them long term, I think that's the next step. Now we have these nice products of 12 sessions. We need to make sure that they will be promoted, communicated, and nicely presented to the global community, and not stay with just today's session. I think this is the next, because we have this excellent product. Thank you again. Bye.
Thank you very much, Oslem. That was great. Thank you very much. There's lots of questions going on there. Naomi, before I I see you've got something about landscape. Do you want to bring that up?
Well, it's already in the chat, but just to summarize it, coming up from where Maria stopped earlier about the kids, I appreciate how kids are actually involved instead of just adults, because sometimes we think that, oh, they might not be able to understand. We have to like dumb them down or something like that. But I love how you're very upfront with, okay, this is an earthquake and this is not because of a bombing, and talking about what we might see as sensitive topics like this, and actually correcting the misconceptions that kids have about their landscape, adding the knowledge and wonder of science and geology so that they don't grow up knowing that whatever is around them is just a product of conflict and violence. And I think it's not just educational, but very healing, especially for children. And I really love that. I think that's just my comment. It's in the chat if you want to see how I worded it. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. You use the word that means like healing, landscape healing. So that's kind of, we call it catharsis, but it's the same. It's the same thing. So yes, we've been like with this idea. We really hope that that we get to other levels as we believe. Also, like we don't talk about that. I say like briefly during the presentation, but also the people that are in those armies, they are also community. They are also actors. So sometimes we need also maybe think how to get to them. They need also to get that part of the healing that maybe can help to change the way they do the things. Just to an example that doesn't have to do with that, but there is a friend of mine that is called Franz Flores. He's called Franz Flores. He, after the Armero disaster that I guess everyone of you knows, the place where the snakes were, I don't know how we call that, serpentario, was still on. Like all the village was gone, but that part was there, and he decided to protect them. And one day he took all of the snakes on a bus and go through all Colombia on a bus to educate about the snakes, that they don't need to be killed, they just need to be understood. So there is a documentary about that history that is called in French is the Homme des Serpents, the Men of Snakes. There is a French documentary, and he tells that snakes became the passport to be all around the country, because the country is not accessible even after the agreement to everyone. So maybe we can get to those rural areas and to those actors through the project, even like making them also part of it. So that is something I wanted to point out.
Thank you, Catalina. That's very important. Does anybody else have anything else to ask at the moment?
Just
Maria.
Now in EAFIT we have also very beautiful project related to it involves ex-guerrilla people to identify the biodiversity in the Middle Magdalena Valley. So they became kind of very scientific experts, identifying some birds, some plants, some many different animals, and they did it's from the biology science program in EAFIT. All of this project they did between scientists from our university and ex-guerrillas. So It's like a building. They are building this bridge between the knowledge of local people to understand the biodiversity, because we because of the conflict, we don't know our country. We didn't have the opportunity to go to many places. This is the first time I used to tell to my students that they can go many places that we have never been. Mainly, I used to be there because I was really very free person, and I went to places where guerrillas were. But it's not the normal behavior of Colombians. Many Colombians, they don't know the territory because they were afraid to go any place. And Colombia is so beautiful. So that just giving us the chance to know that Colombia is more than just a city or just a, I don't know, the Andes, but also the Amazon and the Orinoquia and so on. So that's really big change. It's changing our minds, very to be more open to the landscape.
Thank you, Maria. If I can say something, because I've held off saying something for the moment. First of all, I'd like to thank Maria for making me read El Ovido que Seremos by Hector Abad. So one thing that really struck me from that book was the challenge for medics, for doctors, to concentrate less on curing people, but look at the causes, the social causes of disease, like poverty, conflict, and whatever. And I think that rings very true for us geologists as well. We can help a lot, not only by doing our geological things, but looking at the causes. And we have, as you've pointed out, many elements that we can act within society, where we can do our geological job in society, and therefore solve some of the problems that we would normally solve afterwards by doing a hazard map or rescuing people. So I think that's one very important thing. The second thing to say is I just want to share my screen to show a picture, if I can, and it's on my first screen, so here it's coming. Let me know if you can see this. Can you see that? I can't hear you now.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so this is an image, a thermal image of some kids in a workshop in Volcano, and I'll stop sharing now because otherwise I can't see you. So the link I sent is to the possible island Volcaniamo project, which has been going on the island of Volcano last month. This is something entirely created by local people from Volcano, from cultural people who've invited the scientists in to work with them. And this is also the sort of model that I think can work in the future, where we integrate ourselves into society projects, and have a look at what's going on in Volcaniamo. It certainly has been a learning experience for us geologists to work with not only local people but sculptors, painters, dance, in a way that we would not do also. And just to finish off, before I forget, I'm just working out a workshop to do on the island of Ometepe in Nicaragua in September, and I'd like to see if we can get some of the actors from maybe Colombia, Mexico, not too far away, to join us in September in Nicaragua, because this sort of project is and your work is really needed in that situation as well. It could be very useful. Okay, over to other people.
Can I say that many moons ago, when I decided I would study geology, I would not have expected that geology would be at this point. When I wanted to study geology, I just wanted to know what the earth is before people pollute it. But in the same way we study our rocks and evolution, it's the same way geology has evolved for me. I mean, to now see how geology can play a role in just healing people through, you know, after a war, after conflict, and in terms of Ben and Volcaniamo, just looking at the applications and the various things that we've been able to plug geology in. And now geology is part of social justice. I don't know, it is just fascinating that for somebody who used to be pointed at and say, oh yeah, she's the rock lady, or she's the girl that studies rocks, to now being a part of a movement. And I mean, I know that word is kind of cliche, but to be part of a movement that is just, forgive the pun, earth shaking, you know. It's absolutely fascinating. And I'm very, very proud and happy to be a part of it. I just had to say that.
Thanks, Shirin. I just want to tell you that it's a very difficult process to try to convince our faculty members that we geologists do that. So I am also, my PhD was in subduction zone, I am geochemistry, I am petrography, and so on. So, but every time I try to talk about geoheritage or geodiversity, they say, that's not geology? Why you are doing that? And I have until now more than 10 students involved in my projects, and every time they give their lecture, they say, no, that's not geology. What you are doing is not. So it's not. It's also difficult to try to convince the geologists that we can do that. And who knows better than us how is the earth, and how it's very important for decision makers to know the history of the earth. Because, for example, Armero disappeared because we didn't tell people how was the history of the geological history of this place. So it's very hard. So I am here.
Yeah.
For sure, they are not proud of me. So,
I add to that.
Hard rock geologists just want to hammer.
May I
You may.
add to that? Yeah, so that is very relatable, especially now, trying to like transition to this newer field that is geoheritage. And it's very true that it's very hard to find universities and geology departments that accept geoheritage as a field under geology. And I'm like, I don't need to be under geology because I love this field. But I'm very thankful, especially for this project, IGCP 692, because it's been especially the webinars, because I've met people like Shireen and you, and we've built such a community where it's very reassuring that this is an actual field, whether it's under geology or not. Using geology to not teach the people, but actually be more in touch with the society and culture and history. It's very exciting to see that although our own departments might not see the importance, or they might not see how, they might not appreciate this field. It's very, very comforting to have this community through UNESCO, through these webinars and conversations that we've been having. And so it keeps me hopeful to find a place somewhere in geoheritage in the future, and it's very nice. And it's not just rocks. Geology, we started just rocks, and then we moved on to hazards, and now hazards is being accepted as under geology. And more and more I see the hazard research, geohazard research, is becoming more community oriented, because adding to what Ben said earlier about doctors have to see or have to heal as well what is causing the diseases, or what is causing the deaths from the society standpoint. And from geography, they already recognize that vulnerabilities, when we're talking about disasters, the vulnerabilities stem from the inequalities in societies, like marginalization. Sometimes the less privileged people are more affected by geohazards. So it's not just a geologist's job to create hazard maps and tell people do not live in hazardous areas, avoid these hazardous areas, because less privileged people do not have a choice but to live there. And now that we're moving forward to more collaborations with the social scientists and artists and all the other people outside our departments, that's where we see the magic happen. That's where we see the movement of what Shireen said. That's where it starts. And I'm really excited to see this happening, although it's a baby steps, but it's moving forward. I've seen it move forward. So more webinars like this, Ben. I think we need more.
Yes.
Continue.
Yes.
Okay.
You're now on spot.
Yeah. Well, that's something for Shireen and myself to work out for the coming webinars, for both bringing geology to life and for geoheritage for resilience. Okay, we'll do more. Naomi, will you do one?
Yes, she should.
Moderate one. While Nina is busy, I can host. Like, please turn off your camera, turn on your camera.
Yeah, you wish. You're on spot now. You're next.
I've got a question that's been nagging me, which is sort of to bring us down to earth, sort of. How in Colombia or elsewhere do you deal with the people who've caused the conflicts, like the politicians, the rich people who are, shall we say, completely divorced from reality? How do we include those people within this movement? How do we make them become aware of the land and their responsibilities and bring them into the fold? Maria?
Yeah, that's a challenge, and we think that the starting point is through the companies. So try to let the companies to be involved in those processes, as we did with Isagen, the hydropower generation company, because at the time they understood that we have very beautiful sceneries around, and it's not just water for electric production. It's also when the people goes to that territory, also they see the dams, but also they see the Inselbergs and so on. So when we start to convince the companies that they let small projects related with many topics, including food, including culture, but always related with the landscape. And how is the coffee production? Coffee production is really related with the different landscapes in Colombia. We have the best coffee in the volcano areas, but also we have even cannabis. I mean, we have very good cannabis in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. So if we start to think in projects that is always calling the landscape into in our products, for sure we start to change our minds. It's difficult. We are now in a very difficult point that we have because of pandemic right now, and it's hard the economical situation. But for sure, for Colombia, the tourism along these different beautiful landscapes, it's an option. So, but an option must be with security, with that people could go and not be kidnapped and so on. So it says it's that.
Thank you. So you need to work with industry, with the economics. Okay.
Okay.
Catalina.
Yes, there is also, but it's according to the context in Colombia, that they going to university is mostly for rich people or for very privileged people. Because I just read something that about only 1% of rural youngs goes to the professional studies. So what Maria had been doing with the students, it's a way of just putting that little grain that can make a change. So also university has that role. Not only going to that rural areas, but it's a place where rich people can go.
Yeah, I agree. Making educational accessible like this, and it's the same as what Ben said about Vulcaniamo. It's bringing our science to the people for free. That's actually, I think, one way of resisting or a resistance to the social structures that put into place that prevent the less privileged on getting education and getting what the rich can only get. And you involving the communities, especially those in the rural areas, it's very a good way. And you say it's a grain, and it really is. It's giving what people have been depriving them just because they couldn't pay for that education, and giving it to them for free is a big start.
Thank you very much, Naomi, for your comment. I would like, just before continue, to thanks both of you, Catalina and Maria, for this. I think this bring great ideas, and I think I will need to send you an email, as now I'm working on illegal mining in French Guiana. So this could be a great opportunities to share work, I think. And before also, I would like to thank all of you, Shireen and Naomi and Mari, for always being here and have a great conversation and sharing all ideas. And also to thank Ben for this opportunity, and who had my back for 1 year, I think. So yeah, this is what I wanted to say.
I'd like to thank, well, especially Maria and Shireen from getting up so early to come and join us. I'd like to remind everybody that you can come back again at 5 o'clock French time for the Spanish language version. I hope Maria will be able to rest up for that. And Shireen, you can brush up your Spanish for that. I know it's good. In the meantime, it's given me a lot of connections for the other projects in Latin America. So I'm going to send out a few reminder emails to colleagues. I'd like to point out that this is the first webinar where we haven't stopped for a break after the presentation, and I think that's a measure of the interest and importance of this. That I think we should continue to develop with more webinars in this theme as well, and if there's any way that we can support the UNESCO chair idea I think that's something you should follow up with Oslem. I think your project is something that could be supported by the IGCP anyway, and that's a good stepping stone to get towards integrating into a UNESCO chair. They're both compatible. And the best thing about the IGCP project, it gives you money, whereas a UNESCO chair does not. So that's something to think about.
We are going to do it that for the UNESCO project
Yes.
as well.
I just wanted to thank, because I guess we are closing.
Mhm.
I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity. As I said before, I am not geologist, so it's a privilege for me to be here. When I started my PhD thesis, that I don't know why I end up in this world of geologist. I felt really weird of my way of thinking, but most when I started to be close to geoparks, geoheritage, I realized that I had my space there. So I am starting now, and I really hope that other researchers from other disciplines could come and exchange with you, because as Naomi said, that is the beauty of it. So thank you very much. And thank you, Maria, because Maria always believed in it, even though she had been like pointed with a finger because what she's doing. But thank you.
Nina?
Yeah, so yes, I think we are at the end of the session, but we see us again at 5. I think, yeah, it's 5 p.m. Thank you all. And of course, it will be recorded, so I will add all the videos on the website. I need to put the other one. I forget it. So I need to do that. I will do it in the week. And I will send you also the link, Maria and Catalina, in English and also in the Spanish after the session of tonight. So thank you all, and hope to see you tonight.
Yes.